Simon was especially good that year, and I remember Dad going back for seconds. He was 87 years old, and his body was still in very good shape. He only wore glasses to read, didn't wear a hearing aid, didn't use any thing to get around like a cane or a walker, walked a lot of places, drove, just was in really very good health. And he had arranged for a speaker to come to that particular event, but the speaker didn't show up. Didn't tell him he wasn't coming, he just didn't show up. And so that really was a blessing, because Dad got up in front of, we had about 250 people there. It was in the ballroom back then. And Dad started telling, he was just animated, he started telling about everything that they had done at the museum the previous year, and he was doing the Eskimo yo-yo, and he was just so engaged with the audience. I got these wonderful pictures of him. But then after the salmon bake, I wanted to say goodbye, but there were so many people talking to him, I thought, oh, I've got to get home, but I'll be seeing him soon. So I left to go to my home in Salem, and at 1 o'clock the next morning, I get a call saying he died in his sleep. And I didn't know how to, I had a really hard time with that phone call, because just about 2 years before that, I had been living in Virginia, and my 24-year marriage had ended, and I had decided to come back to Oregon, where my support system was, and to get my graduate degree. And when I came back, Dad said, don't worry. He said, nothing is going to happen to me until you graduate and you get a good job. Well, he was thrilled at my graduation, and he knew my first day of work was September 26th, the day he died. And he wasn't even sick. And I just could not believe that that had happened that way. But we had been really close, and I was so sorry that I didn't get to say goodbye to him. And about 3 months later, I was driving to work, and I just knew he was sitting next to me in the passenger seat. I've never had that happen before or since, but he was there. And somehow he communicated to me that he had a message for me, and that I was to turn on the radio. And I just turned it on. I didn't move any dials. And there was a song starting that was so perfect. And it was, may you always be a dreamer. May your fondest dreams come true. May you find someone to love as much as I love you. And later on, when I could Google things on the computer, I got the rest of the words. And I just wanted to share those with you because they're just so beautiful. So it's, may you always walk in sunshine, slumber warm when night winds blow. May your life be filled with laughter, for a smile becomes you so. May good fortune find your doorway. May the bluebird sing your song. May no trouble travel your way. May no worries stay too long. May your heartaches be forgotten. May no tears be spilled. May old acquaintance be remembered and your cup of kindness filled. And that just meant so much to me that he would come back and do this. And it wasn't just me. He did this for other people, that he really cared about people, and he wanted everybody to get their potential and reach for the stars. And I know that I've been told by many people here that my dad had a real impact on them too. And I'm hoping that some of them will share a little bit. Would anybody be willing to share? Karen?
Well, if there's anything I like talking about better than Alaska, the museum and Dr. Jensen. I don't know what it is, because they tell me that no matter what he was doing, when a child would come into the museum, he would stop what he was doing to pay attention to the child. And how many of us had grandpas that were like that, and we loved them a lot. So I would like to tell you the story about the guy that came in with his mom, and his mom said, oh, I never missed a lecture. I audited all his classes. And the boy probably learned from his mother, because shortly after that, he was called to go up to Kotzebue. He's an RN, this young man. And they wanted him to set up a nursing home for our people up there, our old people. And I know about old people. I'm not going to tell you why. I'm going to let you guess. Carol's laughing at me. He went up there, this young man, and he set up this nursing home, and he couldn't get the old people to stay. They'd eat, take their meds, and they'd leave because they wanted to go back down to their tents. And this man, who was tutored by his mom, who loved our Dr. Jensen, figured out a way to keep them happy. He put their tents in the backyard. He put a fence around so that the people were safe, so that after they ate and had their meds, they could go to their tents and they could be safe. And I said, you know, what can you ask? Cultural sensitivity, being kind to old people, being kind to all people, but being kind to the old ones in a culture that this kid wasn't from, but that he had learned about from Dr. Jensen. And one time, too, I got a question answered. There's a young man who went up to the North Slope, and he said it was the most wonderful culture he had ever encountered. They were so wonderful. And he'd gone up there under Dr. Jensen's guidance, and he said to these people, why do you stay here where it's so harsh, where it's so hard? Why don't you go south? And I always wondered that myself, because I guess I didn't tell you earlier, that's where I came from, was up there. I didn't just wander into the museum one day and say, oh wow, you know, sealskin. I came from that world. Anyway, I always wondered why people stayed there where it's so cold and so harsh. Well, this young teacher asked these men, why do you stay here? Why don't you go south? And the young man looked at him and said, go south? We can't go south. Athabascans kick our... Now I know. That's why you don't go south. What a wonderful thing Dr. Jensen did for all of us. What a wonderful thing that one man could give so much to so many. Wouldn't it be wonderful if, oh boy, if I could give just a little bit of what he gave. And I tried at the museum, I tried to tell everybody to interpret how important museums are, especially to our children. Which we had things like 120 kids in there sometimes. You know, kids going out the door, kids coming in the door, and they were all there because of Dr. Jensen. And the old people who came in, I had to tell them the story about Dr. Jensen. I said, well, his name wasn't Frank Sinatra, but obviously the man did it his way. Everything. Dr. Jensen did it his way for the good of all of us. I could go on forever, trust me, I'm Irish. Irish-Mexican, I could go on forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Would anybody else like to share?